Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Over the Rainbow Show with your host Bob Brown on Wednesday, 21st of October 2015. It's 3 o'clock Eastern Time, 12 o'clock Pacific Time, and 8 p.m. UK Time. And to all our listeners from around the world, the number to ring the show is 347-539-5367. And from the UK, 001-347-539-5367. And the chat room is open. Well, we've got a really terrific show today. We've got, it's a marvelous show, so I'm hoping everybody will listen to the show today and ring up. The chat room is open, so you can always ask a question, and so I can ask my guest the question tonight. Right, my special guest is Jillian Haslam. Jillian recounts growing up with an Indian English family during the 1970s, facing racism, starvation, abject poverty, death of a family, miraculously surviving. She will inspire listeners and takes a survival of triumph while outlining key skills that will lead audience members to find new strength and hope they never imagined. Well, she's got a true story to tell us this evening. Can you please welcome Jillian Haslam to the show? Hello, Jillian.
Hi, Bob. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm so honored. Thank you.
It's fine, Jillian. You've come a long way in, I'm going to say a short time, but, when you're looking back in them days when you're growing up and with your family members and things started to go wrong, how did you cope in them days?
Well, Bob, before I was born, my parents actually lost two little ones before the ages of 6 months. Two sisters, actually, Carol and Minnie. And that was just down to poverty and starvation and malnutrition, really. And then I came along, and then my sister Vanessa came along, and my sister Christine came along. And we, basically, my sister Vanessa and myself, were with my parents. And my dad was from the army, and so he got very ill and was hospitalized, and then he was in the Salvation Army for a while. And so as little as I was, and as my sister Vanessa is 2 years younger to me, and as little as we were, all that I can remember is I was born in the house, in a little room somewhere in the city of Calcutta. But after that, we moved from behind people's houses to their verandas, to under their stairs, to, some people kept us for a few days, some people asked us to move on, some people fed us, some people wouldn't feed us. And we were literally like common beggars, moving from house to house, place to place, wherever we could put our heads down and wherever we could get some shelter from the heat or the rain or whatever. And that's how I remember my very, very young years. My first home ever is depicted on the cover of my book. That is an actual true picture of my mom, my little sister, and myself living under the stairs, where we lived for a very, very long time.
So, I just don't know. I can't see how, if that had been me, how do you cope? What do you think? And how struggled it to survive from day to day, thinking, where's my next meal coming from? Who will feed us? Where can I go for advice? Who's going to look after us? And all this is bound to come into your mind and survive. How old was you? Was you quite young then?
Yeah, it must have been about, when we were moving from place to place and house to house, it must have been about 3 or 4, not more than that. My sister may have been 1, 2, or 3, something like that. And if you look at the cover of my book, she is in my mom's hands and arms, and I'm on my mom's shoulder. And we moved about like that for a long time. The place under the steps was so bad that just about a foot from us, people used to wash their clothes, bathe their children, go to the toilet, wash their utensils, and basically it was a common area where everybody from around came and just did all their general chores and their work. And my mom put down a plastic sheet and a little torn blanket, and that's where we stayed. But it was filled with vermin, cockroaches, rats, bandicoots, you name it. It was all over the place. But it was better than living on the streets, and sleeping with hundreds and hundreds of different beggars who were riddled with disease and illnesses and all kinds of things. We were also girl children, so we had to be very careful. So my mom used to work for these 2 ladies who used to live upstairs. There were 2 sisters. And my mom used to help them out with their chores, used to run about for them. And I remember my mom having absolutely no shoes even, Bob. She had a piece of leather on one side of her foot and a piece of plastic on the other, and she used to tie it up with rope or string to keep it together. And she would just walk the streets and do whatever it took just to try to feed us. And she used to come home. When I say home, I mean to the place under the steps with a little bowl with which she used to buy from the shop, a little curry, like 2 pieces of meat and a little gravy, and one like a naan bread, like a roti. And she used to bring it home to say to us, come on, eat up. And we used to say, but what about you? And she used to say, my stomach's so full, my friend has fed me so much, I can't eat another morsel. But actually, she hadn't eaten for days. No. And she used to just want us to eat that. We were just so poor. And that's really how we managed the very first few young years of our lives. And then our second home, when my dad got better, he got a proper little room for us, which was approximately 8 by 10 feet. And that was in a proper slum, which still exists to this day, and you can have a look at it. It's on YouTube. They've done a documentary on it. And that's where we lived, where approximately more than 3,000 people shared 3 toilets.
That is incredible. When you think about that, and then you think about, even as myself, if I lost my house tomorrow or whatever, and I was looking for somewhere, I'd never think what you've gone through is entirely what different will I go through. I could buy a flat tomorrow or whatever, move into it, I'd have a cooker, I might not have a washer, but I'd be able to feed myself. But, when you're in one room and you're all together in a slum area and like one toilet, how do you cope?
It was more than difficult, Bob. It was very, very hard because they only had a little narrow drain which was kind of 1 foot in depth. And you can imagine approximately 2,000 families worth of garbage and waste coming down that drain. It's so little. So most of the time it overflowed into our houses, into our little room. Most of the time we had, like I said, 3,000 people sharing those 3 toilets, so we had to queue up. Most of the time we filled water from a local tube well. There was hardly any electricity. There was, there was hardly any water. There was no food. My dad used to have to travel very, very far away to do a small job. My mom used to walk the streets of Calcutta just trying to get some money. You imagine we paid our rent of 100 rupees. That was our rent every month. And 100 rupees is 1 pound today, and my dad owed approximately 3.5 years of rent. So even that he couldn't afford to pay. And the landlord used to threaten him and threaten him and threaten him because he just couldn't afford to pay that. And we were left my little sister Vanessa and me, and then the two little ones came along, Susan and Neil, a brother and a sister. And we used to have to look after them, but my parents were already very, very tired, very exhausted, very stressed, and very heartbroken, because even before we came to that little room, after we lived under the steps and my dad got better, my dad got a little job in a place just outside Calcutta, which was called Dum Dum. And my parents had twins, a little girl and a boy, Kimberly and Alan. And we moved to Dum Dum, and we were so happy to get a little place there where my parents were teaching English to the local children. But then again, a kidnap was arranged for my eldest sister, Donna, and we had to leave the place by night and run away in the darkness of night, leaving home and house. But before that happened to us, the same year, my parents lost the twins as well, due to malnutrition and starvation and hunger. So they had lost child after child after child. And I remember once my mom crying, and I was looking at her and saying, "Mama, are you crying?" And she used to say, no, there's just something in my eye. But actually, she was heartbroken, and she just kept alive for us. And that's when we moved to the slum, where at least we had, a roof above our heads and a little place to call our own, even though even that was vermin-ridden. Rats used to come out in the night, cockroaches used to fly around the place. But that is, at least it was a concrete little roof, and, we were able to live there.
Yes. How many years did you live there then?
Oh, we lived there right up to the time I left Calcutta for Delhi, so right up to the time I was 17 years old. So it must have been for a good close to 11 or 12 years that we lived there.
Right.
And we would just help.
When you moved when you were 17 years old, what did you want to do in your life then?
Bob, I had one thought, and one thought only, that I needed to get out of there, and I needed to change the fate of the little ones. My parents, even though they were very poor and they were going through a lot and all of that, but my mother was extremely charitable. She would take a person and a man who we've never met in our whole lives, like off the streets, and she would bring him into that little room, and she would say, "He's staying with us." And we would say, "But Mom, we are girl children. You can't just bring a strange man off the streets and bring him into our little room and say he's staying with us. Where's the place? Where's the room? We're all sleeping in a line, in a row on the floor, in any case." And my mom used to say, "Well, he's staying." And we used to say, when my dad comes from work, we're going to tell him, and, we can't live like this. And my dad used to come from work, and we used to say, "Dad, please ask her to get rid of this man, because he can't just stay with us." And my dad used to say, "Children should be seen and not heard, and your mother's word is law. That's it. The man is staying." Oh. So we used to just have to keep him, because my mother was so charitable. She just wanted to help anyone and everyone. And my dad...
She had a heart of gold.
Yes, had a heart of gold. That's right, Bob. But, she just wanted to help everyone. And even now in the area, when I go back for interviews and things like that, people all remember her. She just would teach anyone, help anyone, teach them English, feed them. She would give the shirt of her back if she had to help somebody. And my dad, on the other hand, was he taught us with songs and poetry and quotations and stuff like that. So he was that kind of a person, and a lot of him has kind of remained with me in many ways, both for my mom and my dad. And so, he used to teach us. So, for example, my little sister and myself used to run around to the areas, to all the tailor shops, and collect these little rags. The tailors used to cut these trousers and these shirts and everything for the men in the area. And my little Vanessa and myself used to run around with these plastic bags and collect all the rags and put it in the plastic bag and bring it home. And my mom used to stitch these little coats for us. I wish I could show that to you because I still have them with me. And my mom used to stitch these coats and these little duvet covers and quilts all out of those rags. And my dad used to play Dolly Parton's song for us, My Coat of Many Colors.
Yeah.
And for us, it was just the most amazing time for us, Bob, because we just felt that was the best we could ever have. We didn't know better, And I remember once I had a boyfriend, and he was an Indian boy, and he used to feel very scared to be seen with me. So whenever we used to walk together, he used to say, "Don't let my parents see us, don't let my aunts see us, cross to the other side if you see anybody coming." And I used to go home and say to my dad, "Why doesn't he want to be seen with me? What's so bad? What's so wrong with me?" And my dad used to say, "Look, I can get into the caste and the culture and the rich and the poor, and I can get into all those details, but sit down, I want you to hear something." And he used to play Dolly Parton's song for me, Chicken Every Sunday. And that song has literally stayed with me because I felt that she was singing it to me at that age. And it meant so much. But those are the things that have remained with us, Bob, and those are the things that have made me, what I am today.
That's wonderful. That's so... it's absolutely fantastic. So when you were 17, you wanted to help a lot of people in India. And how far did you get? Or in them early days, I suppose you didn't want anybody to stop in your way of helping a lot of people. And did you achieve a lot when you were 17 and growing up?
Well, Bob, when we were growing up in that area, in the slum in Kidapur, in a place called Kidapur, all that I can remember is the hardship one side, and I remember the poorest of the poor who helped save our lives. So there was a little woman by the corner who kept all the bad potatoes and tomatoes for us, and we would collect it every day and cut off the bad part and cook it. There was the meat man who used to keep all the dry bones and whatever. We used to run to the corner of the road and collect the dry bones, bring it back, make soup. But that's what helped us to keep alive. There was a little man by the corner who's called a panwala. He used to sell cigarettes and eggs and bread, and he gave us free bread and eggs and so much every single day. There's a little tea shop who actually gave me milk in a little steel bowl every day that actually I used to bring it home, and that's what saved my sister Susan's life. And she's married today with a beautiful girl of her own, Samantha. But Susan was also sent home from the hospital, and the doctors gave her 3 days to live, saying that she's going to die of malnutrition and dehydration. And I was 8.5 years old or 9 years old at the time when I looked at her and I thought, no, this cannot happen. We can't lose another one. So I ran to the tea shop and I asked him for a little milk, and he used to give me this milk every day. I used to bring it home and squeeze her cheeks together because she was so malnourished. She couldn't even open her mouth. Her eyes were like simply at the back of her head. But I gave her that milk every day, and that's what saved her life. So these are some of the things that you can't forget, Bob. We used to go to the charity, and they used to give us a packet of clothes, all kind of mixed clothes, because the poor people used to just queue up by the hundreds. So you couldn't say what fits you, what doesn't fit you. So we used to get a packet of clothes and a packet of milk powder and a packet of biscuits. We used to come home, and we used to sometimes get granny knickers. The knickers would start on our chests and end at our ankles. But we used to wear those knickers and parade around the whole area because we were just so happy that, my gosh, we are wearing knickers. We were so poor. Yes. And we really loved that. But because of all of that, I wanted nothing more than to get to a stage in my life where I could help and give back. To those people, to those people's children, and to those people of the city, the area, and to all of them who have, honestly, Bob, I wouldn't be talking to you today if it wasn't for those people who didn't save our lives. So that's what I wanted to do, but I had to get myself into a stronger place before I could do that. So I joined Bank of America, and I worked my way to the top, and I was the head of their charity networks for 5 years, and they flew me all over the world, and, I did very well. I won several awards. Then I got my father's British papers, and we flew out of the country, and I helped my whole family to get out of the country. But then I didn't stop there, because leaving the country was not my aim and my goal, and setting my own life up and doing well isn't my aim and my goal. My aim and my goal is to give back and to try and save as many lives as I can while I can. So I work every single hour trying to find a way to do that, Bob.
I can imagine so, because what they give you, what you want to give back now, and to help as many people as you can in India. And there's lots of places around the world is the same, but in India the population is so immense. In them areas like Calcutta, where you live, and there's not many toilets, there's no food for them, and your charity is helping as much as you can, and hopefully it will go to the right people. And I'm sure it will do, because once your name is around, they know that you're going to help them.
Yes, Bob. I was invited to the BBC once for an interview, and I was in a discussion with the minister on why aid to India should be stopped, because India is now looked upon as being a booming economy, and doing exceptionally well. But that is a myth. There is a vast and a great divide between the rich and the poor. The poorest of the poor are simply dying by the hundreds. Every single day, if you look at the statistics, every single day, more than 20,000 people die because of hunger alone. How do you call a country a first world country? How do you call that country a booming economy? Children are dying on the streets. People don't have food or water. The aged don't have homes. They are, there's so much sadness. So what I'm trying to do is I've set up 5 different charities. So I try to help the children, and I have our study centers where we are educating the kids and helping them. We also have a youth team who go out and train the youngsters and help them and coach them and train them and place them in hotels and other, such organizations to help them so that they can help their families. We have a team going out to the aged who many of them are totally abandoned. They don't have anyone. They don't have any help. And they just want to die. They just don't want to go on. But we have a team that go out there and take care of them and give them the hope to go on. We have a team working with the disabled and trying to give them hope. And I myself have just set up the National Speaking Academy in India because I want people out there, the young ones, the little ones, to come out and to speak. And they have a voice, Bob, just like I found my voice. I was, honestly, I have to tell you this, I was the weakest link in my family, in my entire family, because of what happened to me as a child, because of an unkind old elderly lady who locked me in a toilet filled with thousands of cockroaches, and she used to put me in the toilet every day, put off the light and close the door. And she did that for months on end. So I became a very, very nervous child. I used to wet myself. I used to fall down, keep falling down. My sister still teases me about that till this day. But I found my voice, Bob, and I found a way to get out of that. And I want to help the youngsters to find their voices too, and to find a way to help themselves and their families and their friends to get out of it too. That's what I want to do.
And I'm sure you will do. At that point, we're going to take a phone call. It's an 8653 number. Hello.
Hi, Bob. How are you?
Hello, Vanda. How are you? Would you like to ask
great.
Jillian a question?
No, I would just like to applaud her for her work and for what she is standing for in the world, as a lot of us are coming to a place within ourselves to be able to give back, and I'm proud of all that she has done, and just sending her best wishes. I'm doing the same thing with my music, as I'm a musician, and, I'm working on ways to be able to help and to help suicide victims, with suicide prevention and everything. So I know that it is a lot, and it takes a lot of heart, for people to just, do things and know that they're doing it from their heart, and know that you will have the support that you need to get it all done. So I just want to applaud you and bless you for that.
That is so incredibly kind of you. I am so moved and touched. Thank you so much, honestly, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
You are so welcome. We need more people like you and me and Bob and others who are on the path, because the world is changing, and everything that you need to do what you have to do, it is in place for you to do it. And you will get all the support and everything, and so will I, so will Bob, everybody, for the things that we're reaching out. The world is changing, and it's changing on our behalf, because we are the ones who are the new creation of the planet. The planet has to be changed, and it will be people like us. So I just bless you and send you a lot of love. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you again, and bless you too.
Thank you, Vanda. I shall
Thank
put you on
Bob.
hold. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, so when we talk about, Jillian, about it now, I know you do conferences, so what are you trying to put out there to people now?
Bob, I talk to universities, I talk to schools, I talk to businesses, I talk to women's organizations, and I talk to pretty much anyone, whether it's from a business perspective or whether it's from a motivational perspective. I get invited very often to speak to a number of organizations and establishments. And my second book is basically called The Irrepressible Mind. And the reason I've called it that is because I do believe that at the end of the day, nobody can keep you down if you don't want to remain there. My parents, in a way, had accepted their fate. Of course, they never saw a way out. Everything was completely dark for them. It was very, very sad and very unfortunate. But they, in a way, had accepted that this has happened to us. We are in this country, and we just have to make the best of what we have, so we'll just go through it. But it takes somebody to come along and say, I will not accept this. I have got to change things, not just for my siblings or for me, but for anyone I can. And I think that's the first rule of success, is when you refuse to accept the circumstances in which you find yourself. And, I love Maya Angelou's quote that she says, I can be changed by my circumstances, but I refuse to be reduced by them. And if you allow something to reduce you, it will reduce you, irrespective of what that is. But you shouldn't allow it to reduce you. You have to rise above that, Bob.
Yes, you do. Yes. I think I'm saying that you've had it in your time. I've had it probably in my time, where I've let things get out of hand sometimes, and you think to yourself, come on, you've got to rise above that. You've got to do, because if you don't, you're just going to go down deeper and deeper and deeper, and you're digging yourself a hole where you can't get out. And then you lose everything. You might lose your house, you might lose everything, and then you've got to start from scratch again. So you've got to be positive in life now. And I'm sure what you're saying in life now is to help people, is to, say no and help people help your next door neighbour, help them, help these, because nobody else sometimes won't help you when you're down there. But I know through your talking and inspiration to others, people will start to look up to you now and think, Jillian's done that, I can do that, and motivate myself.
And that's precisely why I speak to people, Bob, why I trained as a motivational and an inspirational speaker. That's the reason why I did it, because, W. Mitchell, who you probably have heard of, he was burnt to a crisp. He didn't give up. He still went on to prove that there was potential inside. Recently I interviewed a soldier from Afghanistan who had 3 limbs blown off, and he didn't give up. He didn't give up. He wanted to make sure that his life was valuable and that he made something of it. In the same way, we were caught millions. We were caught in abject poverty. We lost one sibling after the other. We were just in a row of death. At one point, Bob, I felt that the world had given up on us, the country had given up on us, the community had, around us where we lived, the people had given up on us, and of course the doctor had definitely given up on the fifth sibling in a row to die. So obviously you do feel that everyone and everything has given up on you, but that can actually take hold of you, or if you allow it to. But I didn't want it to take hold of me. I wanted to change things, and from a very young age, I fought, and I went to Delhi, and I got a job. Even in Bank of America, I was interviewed among 250 girls, and I was given a pad and a pen and told, take a seat. And I thought, how am I going to get one job out of 250 candidates? But you know what? I went in there with the mindset, I have 2 little ones to look after. My mom has left me 2 little ones. I have to do this. I have got to try, and I've got to look at the end goal. And I sat through all those tests, and I sat through months of those examinations, and I passed all those tests. And eventually I got selected for that role, and that job changed my life forever. So it can happen if you want it to happen.
Yes, and that gives hope to a lot of people, same age as you, when you went for that job in India. So hopefully the guidance what you gave and what you say on the show will hopefully the listeners tonight or today, wherever they are around the world, will be listening to this show, and hopefully it will guide them as well.
Honestly, Bob, that's what I believe, and that's what I tell students. And, after I speak to them, they are all in tears. And I honestly tell them that, look, you have got to develop something that is called the irrepressible mind, where nothing can suppress you. Nothing should be able to get you down. It is tough. It is hard. It is very, very difficult. And you will feel that the whole world is collapsing on you. It is. But if you want to make a change and you want the world to see that change, then, as the great Mahatma Gandhi said, that you must be the change or the light that you wish to see in others, right? Didn't Jesus say that as well? That you need to be that light first before you want to see it in others. So you've got to be that example first. And when I go into schools and I talk to these little ones, or even if I go into businesses and I show them even from a business perspective, our lives have been nothing but decision-making. From the time my dad took a decision that changed the course of our lives forever, he decided to stay in India, where his sister and her children decided to come back to the UK. So that was decision-making. The risks that my parents took by, going to places like Dum Dum, which were absolutely full of Naxalites, where a kidnap was arranged for my sister. And there's just so much that, is similar to what we've been through, and it's similar to what businesses go through and what people in businesses go through every day. So it really doesn't matter, Bob, at the end of the day, what happens to you. It's what you really do about it.
When you talk to people about India, they say, well, they're sending rockets up to the moon. I said, yeah, but that is the nicest part in India, but the other part in India, there's slums there. There's people with no food, nowhere to live. They're living on the street. People, just because people have got money in India, they think all India's got money, but they haven't. And like you said tonight, there's places where some people would like to go because they think, oh, I can't see that. I don't like to see people living off the street and in slums. And I know a couple of my friends go to India quite a lot. From my own town in Briglington, she's a nurse. She goes over to help out in hospitals. What I think is real, and she buys clothes from charity shops over here to take over. And I think, Isabel they call her, and I think, what a kind lady she is. She goes out there for 6 weeks. She works a month in an hospital to help people. Some people with cleft lips, type thing. And she goes out there and helps in the theatre. And I think, what a woman she turned out to be. What a good friend of mine. And every time she comes back, she always tells me all about it and what she's done. I think, that's lovely.
Absolutely, Bob. And, there are many, many, many good people out there. All our teams, for example, all our teams who work with children and the aged and the disabled and the youth and so on, these are incredible people. They work, day and night to bring about change in the lives of others. The girls who manage our food banks, we feed, so many hundreds of people every month. The girls who manage the food banks, they are incredible people. They are dealing with the poorest of the poor. They are dealing with the aged. They're dealing with so much, and they just do it wholeheartedly and so lovingly and so kindly. There are amazing hearts and souls there, and that is why I'm so happy that, one of Hollywood's producers have, signed up to do the movie and to make the movie. And I'm so excited about that, not because of, any, monetary purposes or anything like that, but I'm excited because I do believe that this story has the power to change so many millions of lives. Like the producer feels the same way. He said, Jillian, there are such key messages in there that I myself, have never read or heard before. And I'm determined to bring this movie, to the top, to the headlines. I really want to do that. And he's so excited about it, Bob. And so am I, because I just know how many lives can be changed.
Well, I would look forward to seeing it as well. It's the inspiration of what you give from your growing up with your mom and your dad and being left to look after the children and getting a job. And, it's inspirational to a lot of others. A lot of people in India would look at, they'll watch that movie and think, there's hope for me as well. There's hope for our family. You never know in life. We could turn a corner tomorrow, and there we go. On that note, we'll just take another phone call. It's a 7125 number.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Amber. Hello. How are you?
Hello. Really well, thank you.
Would you like to ask Jillian a question?
Yes, I just want to say, Jillian, thank you so much for everything that you're doing. It's so inspiring to hear that you've come from such a deep place of despair, and you've managed to turn it around and use all of your pain to heal through helping others. And I just wanted to ask you, what point in your life did you decide that you're going to use your pain to help others?
Thank you so much, firstly, for the compliment. I cannot thank you enough for your kindness, so that's the first thing I'd like to say. And secondly, when I, like I said, when I was back there, not in the early days, because, I was kind of too little and moving from pillar to post, from under the stairs to behind people's houses or whatever. I was too little. But from the time we moved to the slum, and from the time my mother put my little siblings in my care, and I started looking after them on a daily basis, and I saved my sister Susan's life with my own hands and my own courage and my own heart. That's the time I realized that I need to change their lives, but not just theirs, but I need to come back, and I need to help the kids over there. And so even now when I go back, I have girls who turn around and hug me and say, up to yesterday I was suicidal, but now I'm not. And that for me is the biggest gift I could ever get, because then Neil started being called to speak all over and for more awards. And then we got in touch with Cyrus, and Cyrus said, I'm not surprised at all you won the award, but I'd love to be part of this project, and we are just so excited about it. So.
Oh, I bet you are as well. Can't wait. Just can't wait for it to come. Because when you look back on yourself, you must think back sometimes and think, God, I was thinking. You must think sometimes when you sat down and you're just relaxing and think, God, them times. Do you ever look back in your times when you were struggling to live and to feed yourself? And does it come into your mind sometimes, or do you try and blank it out?
Bob, many of my siblings deal with it in different ways, and of course some of them choose to blank it out, and some of them choose to talk about it, and some of them choose to just go on and use the resources they have. But all of them are extremely strong individuals and extremely kind and good individuals. But I think for me, I have never tried to blank it out, but I can't say that even when I used to be editing the manuscript on the train to work and coming back, I couldn't do it. And even today, even though I've written the book and it's done so well, I can't get myself to read some of the chapters or some of the stories in the book, because it's just so difficult. The other day I delivered a speech, and a lady walked out, and then the next day she wrote to the organizer, and she said, I'm sorry I didn't say good night or bye-bye, because I couldn't take the pain anymore. It was too much for me. I was up all night. It hasn't left me. I am totally distraught, and I cannot go on. So I'm so sorry I didn't say good night. We get so many messages of this kind, Bob. But I do believe that, as Maxine Carr said, staying quiet in the world helps nobody. So if you've got something to say that can help somebody else, you should come out there and speak about it. You should try to help the world in whatever way. You never know who you can help. And that's one of the reasons why I do it, and I encourage others to do the same, because I host a radio show called Inspirational Voices with Alan, right. And I encourage people to come out with their stories just like you're doing, Bob, because that is how we spread the message. That is how we do what we do, and that is how we can change lives, right?
Yes, it is, yeah. I totally agree with everything you say there, because, I come across people who are a bit down in the dumps, not's going right. They say, oh, I've got another bill coming, I don't know how I'm going to pay it, I've lost money here, I've got there. And I say, just take every day as it comes. Something will come up. Don't worry about it. You'll be fine. And they've come back later on and said, what you said to me, Bob, it resonated with me, and something did come up. I got a job. And I said, well, there you go. There's always hope around that corner. So don't be afraid of thinking about it, because it will help you sometimes. And it does, and it proves it. And it must come across with you a lot when you're doing your talks. People, like you just said, that woman there, and it must come across when other people will put their hand up and say, can I ask you a question about this and that? And it'll happen, and it'll still happen to this day. Wherever you go, wherever you lecture, people will take notice.
Absolutely. Bob, it takes just that one spark of inspiration to change a life. I go to a university sometimes, and everyone in the country is on the BBC News saying students are passing out from universities and sending out hundreds and hundreds of applications for jobs, and they're getting no responses, no jobs. They're getting fed up. They're getting stressed. They're getting, suffering with anxiety. And when I go in and I tell my story that, look, I queued up with 250 girls for a job. But it all depends on how badly you want it, right? So you can get it if you really and truly want it. And when I give them my story and I show them actual evidence, they put their arms around me and cry. And sometimes, Bob, it just takes that one spark of inspiration that can change a life forever. I coached a boy who suffers, he stammers a lot. And he used to be bullied a lot. And I started talking to him and I started saying, look, I used to wet my pants till I was quite old, right? I used to fall down, and I couldn't even have a boyfriend because I used to fall down in front of them. My sister still tease me till this day. So there's no difference, yeah? You have a confidence problem, I had a confidence problem, but here's how I did it. And they'll write you messages like, ma'am, you're the next God I know. You've changed my life forever. But if I can change his life, he can change his family's life, and he has a family of 10. So there you go, You just keep on passing that baton, that good baton, or that light, till you can't pass it anymore, and you can just try to do as much as you can, Bob.
True, yeah. So I'm going to ask you, what does the future hold for Jillian? What do you want to change in your life? In my life, I think I have too much. God has already blessed me too much, and I have too much, and I have it all. And, to be honest, I sometimes feel I don't even deserve all that I've got. And it's not about me anymore. It's about trying to use every moment in every day to try and find a way to make a difference. So whether it's via a radio show, whether it's trainings, whether it's through the aged, whether it's putting the youngsters at the feet of an aged person, as I believe, that the best school in the world is at the feet of an elderly person. So whether they can teach them or they can do some help for them, whether it's the kids at our study centers or through the movie, I just want to try to make the biggest difference ever. And I want to try and leave a legacy behind that the little ones or the young ones will look at me, look at my life, look at my story, and say, I'm going to do the same thing. We all don't need to be Mother Teresa's. We all don't need to be extraordinary human beings, but we can all make a difference. And if I can inspire one person to do it for the next few hundreds to come, then it's a job well done. I would die a very happy person. That's all I ask for. Oh, that's so beautiful, Right then, Jillian, where can people get in touch with you? And if they want to donate anything, can you just let them know now?
Thank you. Of course, they can go to, if they want to look at my main site, so it's just www.jillianhaslam.com. So it's Jillian with a J, Haslam, Haslam for mother.com. And if they want to look at all the charity work that we do and all the people we help and all our teams, they can go to www.remedia, R-E-M for mother, E-D-I-A, Remedia Trust Foundation.com. But they can also go to jillianhaslam.com and it will take them to the Remedia site. If they want to look at the trailer for the movie, and they want to read all about my story and the book and look at pictures of my family and all of that, then they can go to www.indianenglishthebook.com. So it's Indian English, the book, all one word, .com. basically, if you just type in my name on Google, I come up everywhere. It's everywhere.
I'm sure it's been so beautiful and so inspirational today. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I've enjoyed it. I'm sure my listeners have enjoyed it. And thank you for Vanda and Amber for ringing in today as well, for asking questions about your life. And hopefully everything will be perfect. I'm sure there's lots more to come for you in your life as well.
Thank you, Bob. I have to say a very, very personal thank you to you, honestly, from the bottom of my heart. I thank you for this opportunity, and I thank all of your listeners who are obviously like-minded people. I cannot thank you enough. So I hope that one day I can, do something to show my gratitude to you.
Oh, I'm sure. It doesn't matter. It's just nice for you to come on my show. That's been good for me as well. And I'm sure maybe next time you come on my show, you'll have more to tell me.
Absolutely. Once the movie's out, it would be an absolute pleasure to tell you how it's doing and all of the feedback and all of the, to talk about everything that we've accomplished through the movie and things like that. It would be an absolute pleasure, Bob. I'm
sure once it comes out, it'll be one of the best movies ever.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that.
I'm sure it will. Anyway, thank you, Jillian, for coming on the show tonight. It's been absolutely amazing. And hopefully I'll talk to you soon. I've got your phone number, so I can always give you a ring sometime. And I might be able to I'll give you a reading next time. I'll give you a ring up and I'll give you a reading.
Perfectly. Thank you, Bob. I look forward to that. Thank you again.
Right. Good night and God bless.
And you. Good night and God bless you. Bye, Bob.
Bye.